Polaris RZR. Your life demands a tire that provides durability, comfort, and performance, and that's what General Tire delivers for you. From the all-season grip of the Grabber UHP to the comfort and on-road manners of the Grabber HTS to the durability and off-road traction of the Grabber AT2, General has a tire that will help get you where you need to go. So let us take you on your next big adventure. Tweet us at General Tire, hashtag anywhere is possible, because with General Tire, anywhere is possible. When looking for a new wheel for your off-road vehicle, car, truck, or UTV, the choice is easy. You choose what the pros use. Rob McCachran, Keegan Kincaid, and myself, Jim Beaver, all exclusively use Vision Wheel, whether we're dominating Baja, taking the cup at Crandon, or shredding UTVs. Vision Wheel's trend-setting designs and durability will set you apart from the competition and your friends. Check out visionwheel.com or at Vision Wheel on social media to learn more. Looking to have some fun on four wheels? Dirtfish Rally School has you covered. Packing as much adrenaline and adventure as you can handle into high-performance all-wheel drive and rear-wheel drive Subaru rally cars is where the fun begins at Dirtfish. Just 30 minutes outside of Seattle and Snoqualmie, you'll get a chance to train up to 3 full days with some of the country's best instructors and be put through the high-octane rush of rally on mud, dirt, and tarmac. Get started today and call 425-888-7715 or visit us online at dirtfish.com and use code 911 for a 15% discount.
Life is all about sound, the sound of sports, the sound at the racetrack, and the sound of your vehicle. Don't drive around listening to this. Drive around listening to the sound of performance. Gibson Performance. Gibson Performance Exhaust is the company who can turn this into this. Remember that life is all about sound, and Gibson Exhaust is the sound of performance. Check out your next catback exhaust system, headers, muffler, or UTV exhaust at GibsonPerformance.com and get more power and more sound.
Like what you hear? Catch all the back episodes of the Down and Dirty Radio Show on Apple Podcast, and be sure to rate, review, and subscribe.
Welcome back to the General Tire Down and Dirty Show, powered by Polaris RZR. We're going to switch things up here. This is our Power Hour on Sirius XM. They are the first hour of the show. So if you're enjoying what you are hearing, make sure and switch over. You can catch the second half of the show on Sports Byline, AFN for you international listeners. You're already tuning into that, or over on Apple Podcasts. But we're going to change things up because there's a big storyline that broke from the Associated Press this past week. And I thought I wanted to chime in on it because completely threw shade at all of motorsports in general, like just completely threw shade. They basically named their athlete of the decade. So basically they took a snapshot, 2010 through 2019. They named LeBron James the athlete of the decade. Now, LeBron James, we're not going to argue LeBron James is one of the greatest basketball players of all time. I mean, I throw him up there with Wilt Chamberlain, Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, LeBron James. If there was a Mount Rushmore, I think those are your dudes right there. Obviously there's some other guys arguably in the conversation. You guys got guys like Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Mailman Karl Malone. He's in that conversation. But I mean, all-time greats, definitely, if you had a top 5, LeBron James is in the top 5. I don't think anybody is going to argue that. Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, those three definitely in there. For sure, and I think, Wilt Chamberlain, obviously, it's pretty easy call on that too. But so, LeBron James, you want to pick the greatest basketball player of the past decade? Hands down, absolutely, yes, signed, sealed, delivered, no arguments. But for them to completely discredit motorsports in general, because when they wrote this up, they discredited it a lot. But, it's one of those where I got to read some stats here on a few of the things, because, you look at, and this isn't just motorsports. I guess we got to get into a larger conversation, but I think the shock value name was LeBron James, right? But Michael Phelps, I mean, do we know what that guy's accomplished? Not just in his Olympic career, but the past decade. Dude's won 9 gold, 3 silver Olympic medals. Not even arguably, he is the greatest swimmer of all time. Floyd Money Mayweather. Hate the dude. Seriously, I dislike Floyd Mayweather. But he's hands down the greatest boxer of the last decade, arguably of all time. I don't know. Muhammad Ali, obviously, in that conversation as well. Got guys like Holyfield. But the last decade, hands down. He won all 10 of his fights. 9 against world champs. John Bones Jones, another guy I dislike. This guy's dominance of the UFC, we don't even need to get into the numbers. I mean, Simone Biles, you talk gymnastics, 19 world championships, 4 gold medals in the last decade. Usain Bolt, the fastest guy on the planet. You start looking at things like that, and the list goes on. And even in these lists, there's one guy who is completely left out of it. One guy left out. And I think, how are we so stupid to leave him out? How is the Associated Press so stupid to leave Lewis Hamilton out of this conversation? You want to talk about dominant athletes of the last decade, and I'm just not talking motorsports. I mean all of sports. Lewis Hamilton, this guy has been Formula One. Not only the face of Formula One, he is the most dominant force on the planet. Also one of the most highly paid athletes on the entire planet, but the most dominant force. In the past 10 years, from 2010 through 2019, Lewis Hamilton, 5 Formula One world championships. That's half of the entire decade he won those world championships. And trust me, I know he's had better equipment, yada, yada, yada. Still, that's hard to do. And not only did he have 5 world championships, he had 73 wins. You know how hard 73 wins in any kind of auto racing is? I don't care if you race at your local dirt track in an old Ford Pinto. It is hard to get 73 wins, not even talking about at the grandest stage of them all, Formula One. 73 wins. And let me tell you, 2 of those wins came at the Monaco Grand Prix, which is the crown jewel, the pinnacle, the Wimbledon, the Indy 500, the Daytona 500, the World Series of Formula One, the Monaco Grand Prix. He took 2 victories there. And Monaco is getting even harder to win because of the way the track layout is, and it's so tight. 2 victories at Monaco, 73 wins just in that decade, 5 Formula One world championships. And then I started thinking, I'm like, all right. So we got to compare it. To compare it motorsports and what Lewis Hamilton, I'm like, all right, we're going to go and take the top NHRA driver, top NASCAR driver, top IndyCar driver the last decade. Let's compare stats. All right. So you go to IndyCar. I'm an IndyCar fan. You guys know this, right? So we go to IndyCar. Scott Dixon. Scott Dixon is arguably the best IndyCar driver of the last. I don't even know how you can argue it. Everybody's going to tell you. Dixon, he's the man. The past decade, hands down. Now has he? You can't even say he kind of went off into the sunset. Dude's still dominating. Obviously, had won a championship in a few years, but the dude's dominating. So in the past decade, Scott Dixon, 3 IndyCar championships, 24 victories. Now keep in mind, IndyCar doesn't run as much as NASCAR does, or even NHRA, but it's right around Formula One. So you compare apples to apples. That's crazy that Hamilton had 73 wins. Scott Dixon, 3 championships, 24 victories, no Indy 500s in that time period there for Scott Dixon. And I'm not discrediting Scott. This guy is dominant. He is. You ask anybody in the world who's one of the best racing car drivers in the world, hands down, every single person will have Scott Dixon on that list. Dixon is that good, but he's not. I won't say he's not as good as Hamilton. His stats don't equal what Hamilton's did. All right, so let's go to NHRA. My boy Antron Brown. Yes, he has been the top NHRA driver of the past decade. Steve Torrence, he's come on strong as of late. If he would have got that title from Brittany Force, I would say he would be in the conversation along with Antron Brown, maybe even a little bit more dominant. Last 5 years, Steve Torrence is the man. Whole decade, you got to go with AB. Antron Brown, 3 championships in NHRA Top Fuel. That and Funny Car, to me, they're equals as the top division in NHRA. So, nobody in Funny Cars equaled that. So we're going Top Fuel. 3 championships in Top Fuel, right? He's got 50 career wins in Top Fuel. Those date back to like 2008. I didn't have time before we went to air. I know party foul on the host part to pull his stats. So, some of those, even if you say give him 40 wins, 45 wins, it's still shy, way shy of the 73 wins that Lewis Hamilton had. All right. So Antron Brown, most dominant NHRA guy. Yep. Not up to Lewis Hamilton. Right. So then let's go to NASCAR. A lot of NASCAR fans discredit everything. Arrogance in NASCAR fans is there sometimes, right? Formula One doesn't exist. IndyCar doesn't exist. NHRA, what's that? We go in circles. We race Daytona. We are the best. All right, so we're going to talk NASCAR. The most dominant driver of the past decade, Mr. Jimmy Johnson. That is right, Jimmy Johnson, the most dominant NASCAR driver the last decade. 3 NASCAR championships, and those, he's got, 7 in his career. 3 came in the last decade. 36 wins in the past decade, and one of those wins came at the marquee crown jewel of NASCAR, the Daytona 500. So you've got Jimmy Johnson, 3 championships, 36 wins, a Daytona win. You got Antron Brown, 3 championships, 40 to 50-ish wins. You got Scott Dixon, 3 championships, 24 wins. None of it comes close to Lewis Hamilton. 5 world championships, 73 wins, 2 wins at the Monaco Grand Prix. I mean, and he's not even in the APs. He's not even in the Associated Press, radar. Not even there, not even a blip on the radar, nothing. And I am not taking anything away from LeBron James, but how did they come to that decision? For real. I mean, and not even to have somebody like a Michael Phelps who at the world stage has accomplished what he accomplished. Lewis Hamilton, not even in the conversation. Floyd Mayweather, not even in the conversation. Simone Biles, not even in the conversation. Crazy. And now Serena Williams, they did give her the female athlete of the decade. She's not even in that conversation, though. And she should be overall. I'm just looking at it. John Bones Jones, not even in the conversation. I mean, do we even bring in action sports? Supercross, I didn't even talk about Supercross, and the runs that you've had Ryan Dungey make, and you had, Ryan Villapoto make, in the championships. We haven't even got into motocross and Supercross or MotoGP for that matter. So I'm just looking at it though, but, and I guess what rubs me wrong about this is the AP, the Associated Press. They didn't even include, even in their footnotes, a lot of these others were included in the footnotes, and then they tried to justify, LeBron James shifted the culture of the NBA, allowed guys to go out and get more money, and yada, 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 and I don't know. To me, when you're doing an athlete of the decade, to me it's cut dry. You look at the stats, and I hate to say that because I applaud what these guys have done, charity-wise, things like that, what they've done, built schools. I mean, more and more that comes out of Kobe Bryant. The guy was just complete class act. But, so I don't know, something like this where you're crowning an athlete of the decade, I do it black and white, cut and dry. I look at the stats and that's it. Me, it's all a numbers game, right? And when you talk a numbers game, you've got to include some of these others. You know what I mean? And that's how you make this equal is a numbers game. It's black and white. You have to have it that way. But for Lewis Hamilton, not even to be a blip on the AP's radar, how does that work? How can they be so blind? I mean, who signed off on this? Before that goes to print, somebody had to look at it. How is Lewis Hamilton not even in the conversation? 73 wins in a decade. 5 world championships. I'm not even talking like the NBA. They can call them a world championship, but that's just played in North America, right? Those aren't true world championships. Formula One, that's a global game, right? That's a global game. 5 world championships, 73 wins, and the marquee crown jewel, 2 wins at the Monaco Grand Prix. He doesn't even make the conversation. We've got something wrong with the Associated Press for that to be going on. Seriously, I have absolutely no idea how Lewis Hamilton, and this is coming from a guy, yes, I've admitted it, I appreciate Lewis Hamilton. I've become a fan the past couple of years with some of the stuff he's done off track and really tried to go and do some things for drivers and cost-cutting measures for teams. He's really become a voice and an advocate and used his power for good. I applaud Lewis Hamilton for that. That's not even coming into the conversation, though. Strictly stats-based game, who are you taking? Are you taking LeBron James or are you taking Lewis Hamilton? I don't know. I would love to know what your guys' thoughts are on this, because I know where I'm rolling. I'm taking Lewis